Hello everyone and welcome to another Starcraft 2 video. For this one I'm going to do a tutorial on how to defend your base in endgame TvP. And when I'm talking endgame TvP, I'm talking compositions like this. A whole bunch of carriers, mothership. It's probably something you'll commonly face if you ever actually go to endgame TvP, which a lot of people choose not to. But there's a new patch coming out, the battle cruise is changing. It might be a situation you get yourself into. Or it may just be a playstyle you prefer. Try to outvalue your opponents, which I like this style I like to play. But this is important because there is a setup of defense that is so much better than the typical defense. And when you think of a typical defense, you're just wanting to like throw down a whole bunch of missile turrets. I mean, this is endgame. You're going to be maxed out. You're going to have a mineral bank. You're not going to have available supply, so things like stack defense are a great way to add some firepower without it costing any supply. We also have a handful of widow mines, so put those up front. So this is 14 missile turrets and 4 widow mines. That's a lot of anti-air. We'll even have some SCVs in the back that we can put on auto repair, because you're going to have a mining base, so you can obviously stop these workers and auto repair them. So we'll see how this does. We do have 12 carriers with the mothership. They're all maxed out upgrades, 333, full interceptor count, and we'll attack. So we have 96 interceptors. Here comes the attack. The widow mines go off and immediately knock it down under 70. So that's pretty cool. Interceptors are falling down to about 60, 50, and that's about as far down as they get. And then the base dies. So we probably killed around 60 interceptors in that whole process. And that's 900 minerals. That's not terrible. But we lost 1,400 minerals worth of missile turrets, plus all our widow mines, plus our planetary, plus all our SCVs. And most importantly, we lost our mining base. So I want to do the exact same defense, like 14 missile turrets and 4 widow mines. I'll show you a way to set up that works much better. So we're actually going to put the widow mines behind the planetary. And we're going to put all the missile turrets behind the planetary too. Now you got to kind of mesh it in with the way you have the mining set up. So it'll be probably something like this. I don't know. It's going to be a Vespene geyser. However you can fit them, depending on where the minerals are. How many is that? Is that too many? That is exactly 14. All right. And just like before, you're going to have SCVs mining. Have some in each gas, and then some in the middle. And auto repair. And this is going to be a much better defense, and I'll explain why. The way target acquisition works is that units will always target the highest threat priority. Now, all attacking units have the same threat priority, whether it's like an actual army unit like a widow mine or a hydra, or whether it's a stack defense like missile turret or planetary. And since they're all the same threat priority, the carrier will always choose the target that can shoot back. So if there's a marine and a marauder, it'll kill the marine first, because the marine can actually shoot back. So in this case, the carrier wants to kill the widow mines and the missile turrets first, and then it'll kill the planetary and SCVs. But that's not actually going to happen, because the carrier cannot see most of those things. If the carrier is here, then its acquisition range is like this, right? And it can see the planetary and not much else. If I had another missile turret out front, it would kill that first, obviously, but it can only see the planetary. And since it can only see the planetary, that's the target it'll fire at. However, once it's firing at the planetary, all the interceptors from the carrier are going to be within range of all this defense. So even though I can see and attack the interceptors, the carriers can't actually see what I'm using to attack into it. So the planetary is going to have it's going to be soaking up all the damage. Now, the other nice thing about this defense is that carrier damage damage is split 16 ways. They have 8 interceptors that attack twice, which means their actual attack damage is only 8, even with +3. And with a planetary fortress, that gets reduced by 5. So the PF has like an, I don't know what that is, like an 80%, sorry, I don't know. Yeah, like an 80% damage reduction against carriers. That's pretty huge. So we'll do the exact same attack. We got the mothership and observer following the carriers. The carriers are going to come in on A move. And you can see right away the Widow Mines are going to pop a bunch of them, knock it down to like 40. You can see the since the Widow Mines are further back, the interceptors actually cluster up a lot more, so you can get more of initial pop, killing a lot more. And you can see these carriers are all shooting the planetary, and with auto repair and that 5 armor, it's holding up. And as long as that holds up, it's soaking up all the damage. You can see like this carrier can see that missile turret, so when they can, they will shoot the missile turrets first, but for the most part, they can't see the missile turrets. Now, as it turns out, my Widow Mines killed all my repairing SCVs. But you can see we're already kind of at the point of no return, even with a couple more SCVs repairing. You probably won't be able to cut through here, because this interceptor count, yeah, he's building them 8 at a time, and he has infinite resources in this mod. But with this setup, instead of losing everything and killing like 700 minerals worth of interceptors, we lose almost nothing. Few workers, maybe whatever structures are out front, the repair money, and we wipe his entire interceptor force. So it costs him a whole ton of minerals. If you're out of position, maybe coming back now with your army would be a great time to attack, because instead of having a whole bunch of deadly carriers, he's going to have a whole bunch of flying paperweights because all of his interceptors are gone. My personal style with this game is, since I go Mass Raven every game, and Ravens cannot get anywhere close to carriers, otherwise they all die, I use the Ravens to constantly be counterattacking. So I'm trying my best to wipe out every mining probe that he has in this game. Wherever his carrier force isn't, I'll always be attacking. And yeah, obviously when he's out on the map trying to attack one of my bases, that leaves a huge window for me to be on his side of the map, wiping out his mineral income. And without mineral income, these carriers all of a sudden become game winning for me, because they'll drain through all of his resources, and that's my win condition. Cut off his mineral income and kill his mineral bank with interceptor production. It's actually pretty effective once you get to this part of the game. You don't have to do this at every base. Obviously, once, if you're in a 30-minute game and you're maxed out, you're going to have the resources to do this sort of thing. Like 1,000 minerals is nothing when you got a 5,000 mineral bank. You probably want a higher worker count just so you can build that bank. I know sometimes when people get to say like 3,000 minerals and they're already maxed, they're like, well, let me just throw away my SCVs and make my max out even stronger. If you want to be doing this at every base, you probably don't want to be doing that, at least not without a big orbital farm to compensate. You can also just do this at one base. Say you have a base that's like a fresh mining base that you really want to protect, you can put this there. Maybe you can defend your bases pretty well with your army at the bottom of the map, but at the top of the map you have one base that's kind of too far away to defend. Then you can set up this sort of defense. Sometimes there might be Tempests in the mix. That's not really an issue, because Tempest DPS is pretty terrible versus anything that's not massive air unit. So if there's like 4 Tempests in here also shooting the planetary, you can repair through that as well. I'm Master League, and I rarely see this, but I guess in theory, he may start trying to focus fire down the missile turrets one at a time, realizing what's happening. Usually they don't realize it until they've lost all the interceptors, at which point it makes more sense for him just to retreat or recall. But if he starts focusing down the missile turrets one at a time, it's not the end of the world. It still takes him a while to get through the base. He'll still be taking damage, And with all his interceptors clustering over single missile turrets at a time, you have the opportunity, if your Widow Mines come off cooldown at the right moment, to maybe get like a crazy splash damage hit, maybe killing 50 interceptors at once. Because everything within the Widow Mine range dies if they're an interceptor. Yeah, so don't know if this will ever come up in your TvP matches, but you can see like the wild difference there is between putting your defense in front of your base and putting your defense behind your base. Even if you don't even have to have it directly behind, as long as it's somewhere that the carriers can't see. Like say there's a ramp here into this base, then you could also put like a whole bunch of missile turrets like in this area, because you know he's going to be coming through that ramp. Well, I guess they're flying units, but just say you know his attack angle is coming from this way, you can just throw down a whole chunk here, and it's the same idea. You know, the carriers won't be able to see these missile turrets, but these missile turrets will be able to see the interceptors flying around the planetary fortress. If you want to see this in action, I'll put a link to one of my games. I guess I have a video of 2 games like this. I'll put that link in the description so you can see my style of defending a maxed out carrier force with stacked defense only, well, and a handful of Widow Mines. I didn't talk too much about the Widow Mines, so I'll just mention that now. They're important because they do an initial burst damage, right? And the more carriers he has, the more burst damage that these Widow Mines will do. So say you had 15 carriers, which is, I don't know what that is, 180 interceptors. The fact that when he comes in, you may be able to like instantly take that 180 interceptors and knock it down to 110. It's important because if he has enough interceptors, he'll be able to take down the planetary. And once the planetary falls, then you got the exact same scenario of all this stuff becoming becoming acquired as targets, and he'll just move right through all this really quickly. So the Widow Mines are there to allow your SCVs to repair the planetary enough. Obviously, the more missile turrets you have, the more you can cut the Widow Mines, but it's a small investment. 4 Widow Mines is only 8 supply. Yeah, so anyways, in the description, I'll have a replay to my style, where I use stack to defense to defend against mass carriers while using Ravens to cut off my opponent's resources, income, kill the probes. Yeah, so with that, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.